Imagine a Roman battlefield with wounded soldiers and screams echoing in the early morning. Now close your eyes and see, among blood and dust, a man with a calm countenance, wrapped in a white robe, holding in his hands not a sword, but a scalpel. As the legions advanced, Roman medicine fought its own silent war against fevers, infections, and pain that did not choose sides. In this video, you will discover the secret that has kept Rome standing for centuries. Get ready to meet the hidden power that saved empires, turned defeat into victory, and made Roman doctors the deadliest arena heroes you've ever imagined. When we talk about the Roman Empire, it is almost impossible not to be immediately transported to images of grandiose monuments, imposing colosseums and roads that crossed continents. But there is one detail that goes unnoticed by many: medicine, which sustained not only the health of citizens, but also the force that kept the army invincible. It's fascinating to imagine how a civilization that built empires also relied on medical expertise to survive wounds, disease, and brutal battles. In ancient Rome, long before there were organized doctors trained in schools, the central figure of medical care was the pater familias, the head of the family. He had a responsibility that went beyond domestic authority. He was the doctor, the spiritual advisor, and the holder of the knowledge inherited from the ancestors. His function was crucial because before any external help, he was the one who gathered the medicinal herbs, prepared the infusions, and even performed rituals that united medicine and religion. This link between health and spirituality was so strong that in times of illness, the paterfamilias resorted to prayers, sacrifices, and rituals aimed at appeasing the wrath of the gods, as it was believed that illnesses could be divine punishments. This belief shaped every step of the treatment, and only when home remedies failed was it allowed to seek outside help. It is at this point that a significant change in the Roman scenario arises: the arrival of foreign doctors. When Greek physicians began to arrive in the Roman Republic, they brought with them a much more organized and scientific medicine based on observation and theories that challenged local traditions. The presence of these Greek doctors in Rome was not received with celebration. The Romans, proud of their traditions, were suspicious of these ideas coming from abroad. But the reality of the battlefields, with serious injuries and illnesses that could not be treated with prayers alone, forced an opening to the new knowledge. Among these Greek physicians, Asclepiades of Bithynia, a visionary who arrived in Rome in the 1st century BC, stood out. He revolutionized the way of understanding the human body, arguing that it had the ability to heal itself. Asclepiades believed in the balance between body and mind, and his therapies included baths, diets, and rest, contrary to the common practice of bloodletting and painful procedures. This more humanized approach captivated many Romans, especially among the wealthiest, and slowly medicine grew into a respected profession. Over time, medicine went from being just a domestic practice to becoming an organized field of study, especially needed in times of war. Rome, with its vast army and constantly engaged in military campaigns, needed to develop a medical structure that could accompany its legions through the far reaches of the empire. At first, the doctors of the Roman army were just improvised attendants, learning by doing, but little by little a more robust and professional system was formed. This evolution gained strength during the government of Julius Caesar, when he regulated the profession of military physician and granted Roman citizenship to these professionals. If you were impressed by the courage of these doctors who transformed the fate of Rome, imagine how much more we can discover together. Leave your like now to strengthen our army of curious people passionate about history, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next battles we're going to fight here. Together, we will explore every secret that ancient Rome still holds for us. On the battlefield, medicine became essential to the legion's survival, The Roman military health structure began to have a well-defined team composed of different specialized professionals, each with specific functions that went far beyond simple dressings. Among them were the Medici, doctors directly responsible for treating the wounded, performing everything from dressings to complex surgeries. The Medici were trained to deal with the most diverse types of injuries: deep cuts, fractures, infections, and diseases that plagued the camps. They had knowledge in amputation surgeries, sutures, and other interventions considered advanced for the time. Alongside them, the veterinari played an essential support role. Although the name only suggests animal care, they were also involved in keeping track of veteran soldiers, ensuring they remained healthy and fit for service. Another key professional was Optio Valetudinari, who was responsible for the administration of military hospitals, known as Valetudinaria. This position was vital as it organized patient flow, managed medications, and coordinated medical teams. The Optio Valetudinari oversaw the triage, deciding who needed immediate care and who could wait. The Capsari, on the other hand, were the health assistants who took care of the dressings, changed bandages, applied ointments, and helped in the recovery of wounded soldiers. These professionals were the link between initial care on the battlefield and recovery within the Valetudinaria, ensuring that soldiers could return to duty. The Valetudinaria, the Roman military hospitals, were a milestone in the history of medicine. Unlike the makeshift wards that existed before, these hospitals were built in or near military camps, offering easy access to wounded soldiers. With the advance of military campaigns and the constant need to serve large contingents of men, these hospitals became indispensable. The structure of the Valetudinaria was surprisingly modern for its time. Hospitals were usually rectangular, divided into several specialized wings: wards for wounded soldiers, operating rooms, medicine depots, and rest areas. Some of these hospitals were so large that they could house up to 200 patients, something impressive considering the technological and logistical limitations of that period. Surgical instruments such as tweezers, scalpels, saws, and syringes were common, and many of them resemble the ones we know today. Despite this, Roman medical practice was still marked by significant limitations, especially with regard to anesthesia and sterilization techniques, which did not exist at the time. This made each surgical procedure a painful and risky experience. Still, the Valetudinaria represented a remarkable advance, being a space where recovery was possible, away from the dust and chaos of the battlefield. There, soldiers could find specialized care and the chance to return to active duty, reinforcing Rome's impressive administrative and military capacity. Surgeries performed within the Valetudinaria were, in many cases, the only chance of survival for seriously wounded soldiers. Roman surgical techniques, although rudimentary compared to modern ones, were surprisingly effective by the standards of the time. Among the most common procedures, amputation stood out, essential to save the lives of those who suffered serious limb injuries, especially when gangrene set in. For these interventions, doctors used specific instruments such as bone levers, saws, and bronze scalpels. The procedure was quick, but the pain was intense, since there was no anesthesia as we know it today. Another very common practice was the suturing of open wounds. Wounds caused by swords, spears, or arrows required quick closure to prevent deadly infections such as tetanus. Doctors also tried treatments for fractures, using splints and bandages to immobilize the bones until natural healing occurred. Although it seemed basic, it was a life-saving technique. There was also eye surgery to remove cataracts, something remarkable considering the limited resources. However, interventions on vital organs, such as the brain and heart, were rare due to the high risk of death. The absence of advanced anatomical knowledge and the lack of anesthesia made these surgeries extremely dangerous. Still, These medical practices represented a great advance over what was seen in other cultures at the time. During the reign of Emperor Augustus, there was a great incentive for the professionalization of medicine in Rome. He recognized the importance of doctors for maintaining public health and for supporting armies in the field. Therefore, it granted tax exemption to these professionals and offered special benefits, increasing the prestige of the profession. This meant that many doctors, especially Greeks, found in Rome a fertile environment to practice medicine in a more structured way. Despite this advancement, Roman medicine was still far from being accessible to everyone. Most doctors were restricted to the upper classes, who could pay for their services. The common people in general relied on healers, priests, or popular recipes to treat diseases. This contrast highlights the inequality in access to health, something that, in a way, would be repeated in many societies throughout history. Even so, the influence of Roman medicine was so marked that even after the collapse of the empire, in the 5th century, much of its knowledge did not disappear completely. Some physicians, such as Galen and Dioscorides, had their works copied and preserved in Christian monasteries and Islamic schools, which became guardians of ancient knowledge during the Middle Ages. These texts continued to be studied and were instrumental in the revival of medicine in the West. During the Renaissance, scholars rediscovered these manuscripts, bringing to light techniques and concepts that would help shape modern medicine. The Rome that fell into ruins left a legacy that continued to pulsate in the hearts and minds of those who dreamed of healing and saving lives. Even with the decline of Roman medicine after the fall of the empire, the flame of knowledge was not completely extinguished. In the libraries of the monasteries, patient monks copied and kept fundamental works that brought to light the teachings of Hippocrates, Galen, and other great physicians of the past. The Arabs, in turn, played a crucial role in this process. They not only preserved, but also enhanced and expanded Roman and Greek medical knowledge by translating the works into Arabic and adding to their own discoveries. While in Europe, medical knowledge waned in the shadows of the Middle Ages, in Arab cities such as Baghdad and Cordoba, doctors such as Avicenna studied and commented on the works of Galen, becoming references in the art of healing. This exchange of ideas, which crossed deserts and seas, kept the Roman legacy alive, setting the stage for the scientific renaissance that would come later. In the West, during the Renaissance, this knowledge flourished again. European universities reopened their doors to the study of classical medicine, republishing treatises and rereading ancient works. Roman medicine, then, re-emerged as the inspiration and basis of many modern advances. At this point, it is impossible not to recognize the profound impact of Rome, not only as a conqueror of peoples, but as a propagator of knowledge that shaped the world. Even in ruins, the empire left seeds of knowledge that germinated in the hearts of doctors and scholars, ensuring that the art of healing crossed the centuries. When we look at Roman medicine, we realize that it was not limited to operating rooms or the corridors of the Valetudinaria. It was intertwined with the very lives of soldiers, families, and even cities. In Rome, health was a matter of survival, but also of pride and power. The Roman army, for example, would not be so feared without an efficient medical rear guard. Each military doctor was a fundamental piece in the war machinery that conquered territories. By treating wounds, preventing epidemics, and ensuring the rapid recovery of soldiers, these professionals ensured that the legions were always ready for the next battle. And we must not forget that Rome was a cultural melting pot. Greek, Egyptian, Syrian, and even Persian doctors worked side by side, exchanging techniques and knowledge that transformed Roman medicine into a mosaic of cultures. However, even with all the advancement, superstition and religion still permeated the treatments. Many soldiers, before being operated, made offerings to the gods, believing that only then would they succeed in recovery. Others relied on amulets, prayers, or symbols to ward off illness. These elements of faith coexisted with medical practice, forming a hybrid medicine, at the same time scientific and spiritual. Perhaps it is precisely this mixture that explains the resilience of Roman medicine, capable of withstanding time and crossing generations, inspiring doctors and healers for centuries on end. This fascinating mosaic that made up Roman medicine is a reflection of Roman society itself, multifaceted, absorbing what was useful in other cultures and adapting it to their needs. Roman military medicine was not only a practical achievement, it was also a demonstration of Rome's power to integrate different peoples and knowledge. By bringing together doctors from all parts of the empire, Rome showed that she knew how to learn from each other, even if initially reluctantly. This humility in recognizing the superiority of some foreign practices was one of the keys to his greatness. Greek doctors, for example, brought not only instruments and techniques, but also a new way of thinking about health, based on observation and reason. Roman medicine learned to live with diversity and transformed this into strength. While other peoples closed themselves in their traditions, Rome opened up to the new. This characteristic helped medicine to evolve, to the point of becoming a reference for other empires that would emerge later. And it is important to remember that behind every scalpel, every amphorae, or every medicine, there were human stories of pain and hope. Soldiers, women, children, they all depended on the doctors to walk again, to be reunited with their families, to rebuild their lives. It is this human dimension that makes Roman medicine not only an ancient science, but a bridge between the past and the present. Thus, we arrive at the end point of this journey through Roman medicine, a universe as vast and surprising as the empire itself. Over the centuries, Rome has taught us that medicine is not just a set of techniques, but a reflection of the soul of a people, their beliefs, their fears, and their hopes. From the pater familias, who cared for the sick with herbs and prayers, to the military surgeons who faced the challenge of amputating limbs amidst the chaos of the battlefield, Roman medicine was forged by the need to survive and conquer. With the arrival of Greek physicians, Rome reinvented itself once again, embracing foreign knowledge and transforming it into something new and powerful. Even after the fall of the empire, the Roman legacy did not disappear. In the libraries of monasteries, Islamic treatises, and in the hearts of Renaissance scholars, the echo of Roman discoveries continued to resonate. Today, when we enter a modern hospital or talk about preventive medicine, we are, in a way, walking through the corridors of the old Valetudinaria, honoring centuries of history and dedication. And that's why, when we study Roman medicine, we're not just revisiting the past. We are, above all, rescuing lessons of humanity, courage, and curiosity. For if there is something that Rome left us, it is the certainty that the search for knowledge is as essential to life as the air we breathe, and that each step towards knowledge is, in itself, an act of faith in our own ability to heal and evolve. Throughout this fascinating journey through Roman medicine, we delve into the heart of a society that, even forged in wars and conquests, did not forget to care for those who fought for it. Between battles and wounds, between victories and defeats, medicine has risen as a silent bastion of hope, uniting faith, science, and humanity. These doctors, whether the humble attendants or the renowned masters from Greece, were not just healers. They were invisible heroes who held the flame of life in the darkness of war. By remembering these stories, we understand that Rome was not only made of military glories and eternal monuments, but also of healing hands and hearts that believed in recovery. May this legacy inspire us to value every life and every knowledge, showing that even the most powerful empires once needed the human touch to move forward. If this story touched your heart as much as it touched mine when I brought it to you, reciprocate this knowledge with a generous like. It makes all the difference so that we can continue to bring more stories that transform lives. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Together, we can create a community that values the past, learns from it, and transforms every discovery into a new way of looking at the world. Let's go together on this journey of reciprocity and transformation.